And Sunday is Mother's Day, so if you have yet to get your mom a gift, why not try making something for her? I know probably when you were young, like 4 years old, bringing home macaroni art, she loved it. Maybe threw it out after a while. But these are actually 2 DIY gifts that your mom will love and keep and use. For moms who love to entertain and cook, I've got 2 simple ideas that are going to cost you next to nothing. So for the serving tray, I picked this up at the thrift store, and I also grabbed an atlas there. You will need something to cut it with. I used a rotary cutter and some Mod Podge and a sponge brush. So I went through my atlas and I picked out maps that I liked the best, and ones that didn't have this little back piece there. I wanted a full map, and I ended up choosing some for my mom since it's for Mother's Day. She's always wanted to go to Argentina, so I have that map in there, and I also have Africa in there because my parents had an excellent trip there. So I'm just cutting it down and making sure that this will fit inside my tray perfectly to line the bottom of it. Once it's all cut, you can take your Mod Podge and then you're just going to dump it onto the tray and spread that around with your sponge brush and just try and make a nice even coat. This is a technique that you can use transferring paper to wood, any type of paper, so you don't have to choose a map if you don't want. So once you've laid down that coat, you're going to just grab your piece of paper, lay it down flat, glue it into place, and try and make sure there are no air bubbles. Go back and lay a second layer of Mod Podge over top of everything. It will dry clear, and I had a lot of problem with these little bumps. I tried to smooth out the bubbles. It wasn't working very well. I ended up letting that semi-dry, grabbed a piece of saran wrap, and placed the book on top, left it overnight, and pressed it all down, and a lot of the bubbles disappeared. So for our iPad holder or stand, you'll need a cutting board, a picture frame, E6000 glue, some sort of paint, and I'll explain the steak knife. So when you're picking up your picture frame, you want to make sure that it has flat edges like this one. They're kind of uncommon to find. You don't want to have a picture frame that connects in the corner on an angle like most do. So just take your picture frame apart, and yeah, that's why I have a steak knife. I tried to saw my wooden picture frame in half. I would not suggest doing this. I didn't have a saw at home. Definitely would be a good idea to get one because the steak knife barely worked, but I managed to make it work. And I just sanded down that edge once I was all done and had the flat edge there. So set that aside. We're gonna take the back of the picture frame now and use this for the stand. I ripped it off, but I would suggest not ripping it off. What you would want to do instead is cut out a small triangle where it is connected there, so then you will have a flat surface to glue it onto the back. Because I didn't, I hammered that down to try and flatten down those prongs. I did reinforce this because the picture frame holder wasn't very stable, so I just traced it out with that piece of cardboard there and just trimmed up the edges, and then I glued that to the actual picture frame holder. So this again is just to make it reinforced. It wasn't very stable. The cutting board is pretty heavy, so I glued those 2 pieces together with some E6000 glue, and it was a lot stronger. So I was going to paint these white. Didn't really like how that turned out, so I had some gold spray paint and I just took that and spray painted both of these pieces gold. Once that's all dry, we're basically just going to assemble it with some E6000 glue. Again, I am just gluing this piece of the picture frame to the front of the cutting board. That's where the iPad will rest on, so it's about 1 inch away from the bottom. And then on the back, kind of measure and prop it up as how you would like this all to sit and stand, and then you can mark it with a pen so you know where exactly you need to glue the back of this picture frame holder to make the stand. So again, not a great surface for me to be gluing it down. This was really a difficult thing for me to do, so do not rip that off of the back. Leave a little bit of the cardboard to glue it down into place. So if you can see what I'm doing here, the hammer is weighing it down, the knife is propping it up, and then I went in with a pen and kind of pushed down the rest of the hinge so that only that part would be glued to that. I went back with some hot glue, added more E6000 glue just to reinforce it, and I let it rest overnight to dry. very simple, easy, affordable ideas that I'm sure your mom would love. I gave you 2 different options because my mom loves to entertain but cannot stand cooking. So yeah, the serving tray's for her. The iPad stand is not. You'd think 2 of those things go hand in hand, but I don't know, not for her. If you try out either one of these DIYs, I'd love to see what it looks like when you're done. You can follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at JanelleSteeper, and then send me some photos. And don't forget to use the hashtag toDIYfor if you tag me in any of those photos. Give me a like if you enjoyed this DIY, and also feel free to leave comments below of anything you'd like to see me try in the future. Always happy to take suggestions. And I will talk to you next Wednesday, so don't forget to subscribe. Happy Mother's Day to you, your mom, and all moms out there. We love you. Cheers. And spend time in the kitchen. That sounds so bad. Yo, 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 yeah.